Greetings everyone, Airman here for my review of Little Big Planet. To start off, let me just say it's a good game. I just don't think it was entirely deserving of the hype surrounding it. But let's just delve into the actual game, shall we? Um, Essentially it's a 2D platformer, but you can move along 3 plane levels. And, well, it's a platformer. You run and you jump and you grab things. Fairly standard. It works pretty well. The only thing I didn't particularly like about the gameplay itself is that it uses physics-based gameplay, which, as we all know, for platformers is a big no-no. It works fine since it's in 2D, but there are times when Sackboy just won't want to jump the way you want to, and you can't really get that extra oomph in terms of how fast or how far you want to go. You just won't do it just because it's physics-based, so that's the first major problem of the actual game. I know that sounded like I'm going to start this with as a bad review, but that's just the one major complaint gameplay-wise I actually had with it. The levels are very imaginative and everything has a very surreal look. The best way I can explain this is think Nickelodeon before they went retarded. That's the kind of look I thought when I first saw the game, Nickelodeon before they went retarded. Everything looks good. Everything has this sort of cutout sort of feel to it, which is fine. They just sort of overuse it a bit, but again, nothing else in gaming actually looks like this, so I don't particularly mind unless there's a whole sling of copycats. So, the graphics are good, and the gameplay works fine. The only thing I think the game goes above and beyond with is the music, because the music is absolutely fantastic. I mean, in a year with Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Metal Gear Solid 4, I honestly think this could win the Best Music of the Year award in a lot of places. I mean, I absolutely love the music. A few tracks are kind of bland, but every track had a lot of time and effort put into it, especially since music is probably one of the least important categories that developers actually put into. It's nice to see a developer actually give that some time and effort. There are 3 kind of sets of modes. There's story mode, there is the level editor where you make your levels in the online sort of play the levels people made mode, and let's just start with the story mode. It's a little short, and it's like most games nowadays, it's way too easy. But it's an okay mode. You can breeze through it in about 2 hours if you were serious about just beating it on the whole. Now you can go through all the levels, because there's extra things to get in all the levels, like new materials, new objects, audio sounds, costumes, so on and so forth. I just have one complaint about that. When one of the selling points of your game is being able to customize your Sackboy and make your own levels, then I shouldn't have to unlock all these extra pieces for it. Maybe a few little extra objects here and there, but the vast majority has to be unlocked in story mode, and that just really irks me. I'm sorry. I mean, if it's a selling point and you're putting it on the back of the box itself, then it shouldn't have to be unlocked. I know Brawl started this trend with Snake and Sonic, but I'm sorry, if you want us to make our own levels, and you have to give us the vast majority of it to start out with. That's just something I really hate. Other than that particular issue, I'm fine with story mode. It's just too short and it's too easy. But then again, so is it almost everything nowadays, I mean, honestly. Let's see, let's move on to the online level mode. Second of all, it works fine. It takes a little bit longer to load the levels since you're getting them off the internet, but it's still not big of a deal. And there's some very unique levels out there, although a lot of them are advertisements made by, developers who have beta kits to advertise their own games. Like there's a Mirror's Edge one, there's a Shadow of the Colossus one. I mean, it's a little annoying, but for the most part, all the levels are pretty well made, and they're actually some of them are much more enjoyable than the story mode ones. So it's a very useful addition to a game where the story mode was way too short, but I liked it and it's fun, and it actually gives you a reason to come back and play the game even with friends online. Now we've gotten out of the 2 gameplay modes out of the way, let's move on to the level editor, probably the biggest thing about this game overall. A lot of hype and a lot of praise has been given to this. I don't particularly care for it. Mostly because it's one of those things that's way too complicated for its own good. I mean, this honestly feels like the development kit the developers actually used to make the game. It has everything you could want to make your own level. On the plus side, that means you can make anything you really want, provided you have enough time and patience to actually do it. Because the level I made, it's not on the top 20 cool list anymore. It got off rather quickly. You can just add my username, Nairman, and you can look at it. But my level, which is fairly short and fairly undetailed, took about 3 hours to make. Yeah, 3 hours just to make one little level. So unless you are either have no life and only live to play video games, or you're someone who gets paid to review games and spends 8 to 9 hours a day playing games like the guys at IGN who have no lives, it's going to take you forever to get a really good level out, and it's going to take a lot of just messing around seeing if everything works, let alone just making the level. It's kind of aggravating because if you just want to make a level, it just takes way too long to do everything, and the interface can get really picky as to what you want to do. If you want to fuse something, it'll fuse it to the ground as well if you don't have it floating in the air. And there's lots of little annoying quirks like that you have to get used to that you would really think the developers would have generally fixed, but sadly no. I mean, you can make anything you want, but it's too complicated and no one's going to really have the time to do it unless they have really no lives. I mean, I just think it's a little too complicated and a little too detailed for the average gamer to really go and do anything really cool with. If you have a lot of time in your hands, then it's perfect, because you can make anything you want, but if you're not that hardcore about it, you're never going to get anything close to anything fantastic. So this is one of the few things I wish they had made more simple to use and more user-friendly, but I commend them for trying. I honestly do, because this is one of the very most detailed level editors. I mean, you have motor switches, dissolving tools, let things on fire. I mean, it's insane how much detail they let you actually use in the game. And there are tutorials on how to use everything, but they just drag on and on and on, and you have to watch them all. It's kind of aggravating, but I will give them credit where credit is due, so don't think I'm trying to take anything away from it. I just didn't really like it. So, overall, final thoughts. It's a very fun game, a tad simple in the gameplay and a bit easy. But the level editor and online modes can make up for it, depending on how you really feel about platformers in general. If you're not into it, you really don't have any reason to play this. But anyone who's interested in simple action and platforming games, definitely give it a try, especially if you have friends online. It can be very, very fun with 4 people in headsets just running around. The only problem is level editor is a bit too complicated, and the text chat, if you don't have a keyword, still takes forever. Overall, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely worth picking up if you have a PS3 and are interested in action games, but if that's not your cup of tea, this isn't going to really change your mind. In terms of an overall game by itself, I would put Mario World, Sonic CD, and Rayman 2 ahead of it in the pantheon of all platformingness. It's just because people at IGN and GameSpot have been lining up to bow down to this game since they first played it. The hype train gave it a little too much credit than probably what it deserves, but it's still a very good game. I just have to detract a few points of the overall it's too complicated in the level editor, but it's too easy in terms of actual gameplay. I wish they'd given you more ability to do things than just grab stuff, but I hear already a second one is already in development, so hopefully they can sort of mix things up a bit, because it's a little too easy. But PS3, like action games, go ahead and give this a try. You'll probably like it, especially for the atmosphere. So go ahead and give it a try.